All right, so section 3, 2 questions on 22 slides. It's a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, real estate license law and commission rules. So the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, the DBPR. Okay, it's under the executive branch, which is chapter 20. Remember, chapter 20 is the executive branch.
Yeah, chapter 20 of the law. Yeah.
Okay, so the chief administrator is called the secretary of the DBPR. It's the secretary.
Okay.
You need to know this. They're appointed by the governor, subject to Senate confirmation. Appointed by the governor, subject to Senate confirmation. They're not appointed by FREC. They're not approved by FREC. They're not appointed by the Senate. They're not confirmed by the governor. They're appointed by the governor, and they're subject to Senate confirmation. You got to know that.
All right, give me a little second. Let me go and put this over here. Try to take the nice notes.
So the secretary of the DBPR is appointed by the governor, subject to Senate confirmation. So licensees, it licenses and regulates businesses and professions, not just real estate, all of them. They're granted legal powers by legislature. Okay, these guys are who investigate the complaints when complaints are made. They issue subpoenas. They issue cease and desist orders, and they issue citations. So what are the divisions under the DBPR? Okay, so you had the divisions of professions, divisions of service operations, that's like restaurants and hotels, division of Florida condominiums, timeshare, and mobile homes. So Florida condominiums, timeshares, and mobile homes are separate from real estate. It's a different division. Okay. And then you have the division of real estate. Okay, so what makes up the division of real estate? You have a division director, and all the employees in the division of real estate, the DRE, they're employees of the DBPR. So the DREs within the DBPR.
Okay.
And they provide services needed to administrate real estate law. And administrative and ministerial, they handle record keeping duties, and their office is located in Orlando. This is where you have the hearings, right? All that stuff, right?
Yep.
They handle administrative and ministerial, which is record keeping. Now, the Florida Real Estate Commission. Well, what's that? It's a regulatory body charged by Florida legislature. And they have one primary duty. You may see a question. What's the primary duty of the Florida Real Estate Commission? Their primary duty is to protect the public. That's it. Consumer protection. That is their primary duty. They regulate real estate brokers, broker associates, sales associate, brokerage firms, and real estate schools and instructors. So they regulate all the stuff I do. And they foster education of licensees. They handle the continuing education. They like the requirements. They approve it all. You know, they make the changes to it, like update courses, all that stuff. So that's what FREC does. Okay. What's the composition and qualifications? Okay, so there's 7 members on the Florida Real Estate Commission. Okay. 5 of them are professional licensed members. So 4 of the 5 must have held a broker license for 5 years preceding the appointment. So 4 of them must have a broker's license for 5 years. 1 of them must either be a licensed broker or sales associate who has been active 2 years preceding the appointment. Okay, so 4 must have 5 years as a broker. 1 must have at least 2 years as a sales agent or a broker. And then there's 2 consumer members who are never licensed, just 2 people who are not licensed. And 1 of all 7 must be at least 60 years of age. That's the rule.
And this, and pardon me, but these qualifications are for what in particular?
These are the people who make up the Florida Real Estate Commission. There's 7.
Oh, all right.
So there's 5 must have license. 5 of them are licensed. 4 with a broker's license for 5 years. 1 with either an agent or a broker's license for at least 2 years, and 2 complete strangers without a license, and one of all 5 or 7 must be 60 or more. That's what makes up the Florida Real Estate Commission.
Okay.
Okay. They're appointed to 4-year terms by the governor, and they're confirmed by the Senate. It's always appointed by the governor, confirmed by the Senate. They may not serve more than 2 consecutive terms. They're accountable to the governor. They're exempt from civil liability when performing common commission business. They can't be sued for doing something. Somebody cannot sue them for doing their business. There's no salary to serve. They're paid $50 a day for official business. Official expenses are reimbursed. And they have monthly meetings. So when you watch these meetings, they're going to be the 7 people sitting there. Okay. The commission's general powers and duties. They have executive power. That means they can regulate and enforce license law. They can foster education. They can adopt and seal prima facie evidence, right? Somebody has a license or license kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they establish fees, license fees, fines, things like that. They're quasi-legislative. So they can enact and revise administrative rules and bylaws. They adopt the rules and bylaws, and they regulate the professional practices. So what's quasi-judicial? That means they can grant or deny applications. They can suspend or revoke licenses and issue administrative fines. They can make determinations of violations. Now, if there's a violation, they must inform the Division of Florida Condominiums, Timeshare, and Mobile Homes when any disciplinary action is taken. Remember, timeshares, mobile homes, and condos are a separate department, right? They wouldn't know if something happened here unless they're told.
Mm.
Okay, and remember, FREC's activities are limited to administrative matters. Okay, they don't have arresting powers. They're just administrative.
Oh, okay.
But wait, the renewal period is biannual every 2 years. This is for your licenses.
Okay.
Now, they don't have arresting powers. However, if they find something illegal, they must report it to the state attorney and they'll arrest you.
Yeah, makes
But
sense.
you will get arrested if you commit fraud. They're just not going to be the ones doing it.
Makes sense.
Okay, now let's talk about the license renewal periods. Okay, when you get your license, the renewal period is biannual every 2 years. However, when you get your initial license issued, it's for no less than 18 months and no more than 24. So because the licenses only expire twice a year, March 31st and September 30th. They only expire those 2 times. So depending on when you get licensed, it's either going to expire March 31st or September 30th. So it might be your first license might only be good for 18 months and not 24. It just depends on when you get licensed. And that determines when you need to do your 45 hours by.
Okay.
And then let's say it's 18 months the first time. Then it's going to be 24 months every time after. It never changes. The only
Gotcha.
time it can be less is that first time, depending on when you get licensed. Okay.
Makes sense.
So remember, March 31 and September 30 are the only 2 times. Now this year, for some reason, I don't know what they did it last year too, but with COVID, I don't know why now. I don't know what the problem is today, but they extended it to October 30th for this year. I don't know why, but they did.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you must renew prior to the expiration date. Okay, you're notified by DBPR 90 days in advance of the expiration date. You get notified by them that your license is coming due.
Okay.
So my license education is done. The day I get notified is the day I renew. I renew 3 months early for all my licenses. Post-license or continuing education requirement must be completed. You must have the education done. The late fee is charged if renewed after expiration date. They have a late fee. Okay, so if you let your license expire and you're doing real estate deals and you forget, and you're practicing real estate in that 2-3 days, you committed a felony and they'll charge you. So if you have deals closing or deals going on and you did something, you can't mess around with it, man. They're super strict on it. I got an email. It tells me like all my agents with the MLSs, there's an MLS coming due October 1st. And it tells me who's listed, who didn't pay yet for MLS stuff. And I have to email them. And they're all making their payments now as we speak. So. All right. Armed Forces Renewal Exemption. Licensees in good standing who is a member of the U.S. Armed Forces is exempt from renewal during active duty and for 2 years after discharge from active duty. If the military duty is out of state, the exemption also applies to a licensed spouse. Okay, that's an exemption for active duty. Now let's talk about license status. Active versus inactive status. Active license required to perform services of real estate compensation. Voluntary inactive status is when a licensee requests inactive status. Voluntary inactive licensee must complete education and renewal requirements. So if somebody's licensed, they say, look, I don't want to work right now. I'm going inactive. They request it. They're voluntary inactive. And then they still have to do their education and license renewal, even though they're inactive. If they don't do that, they'll still lose it. Okay, now involuntary inactive is if you fail to renew before your expiration. Like if you just don't do it, you'll go involuntary inactive. After 2 years of that status, your involuntary inactive license is null and void. Okay, so if you wait 2 years, it goes away. You want a license again, you got to go through everything again, class, everything. Okay.
Okay. Quick question about that.
Yep.
Why would anybody want to inactive like to get inactive status
They
of
don't.
license?
They don't want to pay broker fees. They don't want to pay MLS fees.
Oh.
They don't want to work. They're not working right now, and they just don't. They don't want to pay fees. They don't want to lose their license, but they don't. They don't want to pay fees and work.
Gotcha. Okay.
So now you have involuntary inactive license reactivation education. So if you go involuntary inactive, you just don't renew it. If you want to renew it within 12 months or less, you got to complete the 14 hours education course, pass it, and then you're reactivated. If it's more than 12 months, but less than 24 months, you must complete a 28-hour of FREC prescribed reactivation education courses. I offer that course. I have 2 people taking it right now. They still haven't finished it. I don't know if they're going to finish it, but it's online.
You said
Okay.
other base, I guess.
And you must take that. Now, if it expires and you don't pass it, you lose your license. Okay.
Okay.
Reinstatement of a null and void license. Okay. If you fail to comply with the statute because of physical or an economic hardship, if you're very sick or something financially crazy is going on, you can apply for reinstatement within 6 months after the date the license became null and void. FREC has no legislative authority to extend past 6 months, though. Very uncommon, but if it's a major situation, it could happen. Okay. Other license, a license is null and void when it is no longer existing. The license has been involuntary and inactive for more than 2 years, revoked following disciplinary proceedings, failure to complete post-license education before expiration date, or you can voluntarily relinquish it or cancel it. It does not involve disciplinary action. You can just turn it in and say, I don't want this anymore. That's the ways it becomes null and void. Okay.
All right.
Cease to be in force. Licensees cannot conduct business if it's ceased to be in force. There's 4 causes. A broker changes the business address and doesn't update it. A real estate school changes their business address. A sales associate changes the employer. Instructor changes employer. In those cases, when you do that, your license ceases to be enforced until it's reactivated, or done. And you must notify, if you change your address or you change employers, you must notify the DBPR within 10 calendar days. You need to know that by law, 10 days by law. But when you change brokers, it's instant. When you change schools, it's instant. When you change your address, it's instant, right? But the law states 10 days, okay? Your current mailing address. You need to know this for the test. Your current residential address, a license uses to receive mail. So if you get your mail at a different address, that's your mailing address. A P.O. box is acceptable as a mailing address if you wanted to get mail at a different address. It's the address of record where the DBPR sends mail and official communications. Okay? If you don't notify them of changing it, okay, it's a $500 fine. If they mail you something that gets returned to them, they know you didn't change it because there's a forward. You get a $500 fine. Okay, now let's talk about now remember, to change license address, you got 10 days, right?
Yeah.
10 days, $500 fine for mailing, right?
Yeah.
Non-resident. A Florida licensee who becomes a non-resident must notify FREC within how many days?
60.
Of a change in residency. If you live in Florida and you move to another state, you must notify them within 60 days that you moved to another state. Doesn't mean anything. You just got to tell them, right? You must complete post-license requirement and thereafter continue to maintain a valid license. If you don't do this, it's a $300 citation. $300. 60 days if you move out of the state. Receiving a commission. Licensees may not share compensation with an unlicensed person performing real estate services or for a referral of business, prospects, or customers. You go to the pizza shop, the guy sends you somebody, you can't pay him. Legally, you cannot pay these people, right? If they're not licensed. If license is inactive at the time of performing services, license may not receive compensation. They actually broke the law. You got to be active when you're performing. It's just like working without a license. Change of employer. Associates have certain responsibilities to their former employer. Listings belong to the broker. The removal of records from a previous employer's office without broker's permission is theft. You have fiduciary duties. You may not divert buyers and sellers from the former broker to a new broker without permission. So you can't take your clients and go to another broker unless the broker says okay. That's theft and it's fiduciary duties violation. You'll lose your license for that. So you have to just because the broker, the agreement, the listing agreements are the broker and the client, and the broker and the buyer. The agent's just representing the broker, right? You're working for the broker, the agent. So yeah. It's not the agent's client, right? That's how that works. You got that?
Yep.
Now, multiple licenses. Multiple licenses are issued to a broker who qualifies as the broker for more than one business entity. That's like if I have multiple businesses. Pier 21, Pier 22, Pier 23, I could have 20 offices, 20 different companies. That's called multiple license. Okay? For each business that a person is a broker, a separate broker license must be obtained. Sales associates and broker associates are registered under one brokerage. So a sales associate cannot work for more than one company. Sales associate can only work for one broker at a time. Okay? And then you have group licenses. This is what I talked about the developer.
Mm-hmm.
Group licenses are issued to sales associates and broker associates who register under owner developers, a real estate developer. An owner developer sends a DBPR list of legal company names with the same ownership. The sales associate or broker has one license, one employer, the developer, but they can work the different sites. So if they have 4 developments, they can sell homes in all 4 developments, but nowhere else. That's called a group license. Is that cool? You got it?
Yep, got it.